Good morning. It's Thursday morning, February 27th. This morning, I was reading Judges 9 through 12. And the verses I wanted to share on was chapter 9, verses 3 and 4. And his mother's relatives spoke all these words on his behalf in the ears of all the leaders of Shechem. And their hearts inclined to follow Amalek. For they said, "He's our brother." And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Bel-Berith, with which Amalek hired worthless and reckless fellows who followed him. Interesting story. This guy comes along, Amalek, and he goes and he talks to his relatives, his mother, and he says, hey, he had 70 brothers. And he said, hey, make me your leader. Or are we going to have 70 leaders? Are all my brothers going to lead? Make me your leader. And so his mother, she goes and talks his relatives and the people of Israel into making this guy their leader. He was not raised up by God. He was raised up by himself, talking people into doing it, and then they raised him up. They made a leader for themselves. That's what man does. Men make other people leaders. God raises up leaders, and men raise up leaders, and there's a big difference. Story goes on and says they gave him 70 pieces of silver, and he goes out and he hires to help him lead. He hires worthless and reckless fellows who followed him. He couldn't find other people to follow him, only worthless people, reckless people. That's what happens when men raise up men. They go and they get more men like them. He eventually, this guy goes and he kills every single one of his brothers. He deals very treacherously with the people of Israel and with his family. And eventually, God has to take him down. If you continue reading the story, God allows him to be taken down. The men that God raises up, it's a whole different story. They don't raise themselves up. They don't have to talk somebody into a position. They don't have to go and push their own agenda. They don't have to try to raise themselves up. God raises them up. And when God raises up a man, he expects them to lead by serving. He doesn't expect them to lead by forcing their will onto people, by destroying their competition. If God raises you up, you don't have to worry about any competition. God has put you in that position. He will use you in that position. He will keep you in that position because he has raised you up. But you're called to serve. And when God decides you no longer need that position, he'll remove you from that position. He'll use you in some other way. But God has called his leaders to serve the way he served. Jesus never pushed himself. He just ministered, and people followed him. Today, he continues to minister to his people, and we follow him. We love him because he first loved us. My prayer is that as God raises each one of us up, as God uses our lives, we will recognize the calling on our life and we will just serve. Not worry about ruling, but just serve one another. Thanks for listening to me today.